All of the action from the Pennypinchers Lions Karoo to Coast is proudly brought to you by Pennypinchers and Lions International. Welcome you to the outskirts of the Karoo. We're just outside the small town of Uniondale. Normally it's a pretty tranquil little town with a huge amount of historical background, also known for the Uniondale Ghost, but once a year the tranquility is taken over by thousands of cyclists that come down to this small town for the start of the Pick and Pay Lions Karoo to Coast race. It's just on 100 kilometers from Uniondale to Knysna. Race registration, a hive of activity. Got to get those race numbers and timing chips done. This race, of course, organised by the Lions clubs of Uniondale and Knysna. They planned the entire event. And the ladies from Lions Club preparing pasta meal for all of the guys on the night before. It's part of the race entry. So whether you're relaxing by the fire, getting ready for the sunset to rise the next morning, or just chilling out, Sunday morning is when it all starts. It was a pretty cloudy day, but of course the low clouds soon burn away as the little town of Uniondale wakes up to thousands of cyclists getting ready for this long journey that lies ahead. If you haven't done this event before, it's 100 kilometers of riding on district roads. There's no single track, although it does cover some of the most beautiful terrain you'll see. It's a fairly high speed race, a lot of climbing involved. Also a lot of descent, surrounded by some of the most majestic terrain you'll ever cross on a mountain bike.
We come here every year because we forget how cold it is in this place. And because of that, the challenge is to get away from here as quickly as possible. So then we cycle over the most beautiful, picturesque place. I think that's the absolute thing we come for. It's beautiful solitude, some of it anyway. And a bike and friends and camaraderie and a good trip.
We start right at the back, so we usually end up in a congestion line, so we have to walk a bit.
Yeah, it's terrible, but it's fun.
The scenery is beautiful. I'm here with my best friend.
And we do it together.
Yes.
We ride for fun.
Yeah, we enjoy it. It's lots of fun.
And if doing it on a mountain bike isn't enough, try doing it on a tandem for your first time.
I think I'm the engine. He's the pilot, so I'm the guy.
I think halfway we're going to swap.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to swap.
He's quite long, so if you look at the seat
first, I'm riding in heaven.
Yeah.
A lot of the pro riders coming down for this event as well. It's a fairly tactical race for them. We caught up with Red E Cannondale rider Matthew Beers.
Well, obviously a win would be nice, or podium. Yeah, that's pretty much, that's what you got to aim for. Last year was awesome. This year it's going to be sick again, so yeah.
As far as the ladies were concerned, Robin de Groot was defending champion.
It's always a challenging event. It always seems to be a downhill race, but when you're out there on the bike, there are hills, and it's quite a taxing route. So, yeah, looking forward to it. It's a great, initiative to go from Uniondale to Knysna. So,
3, 2, and 1.
So the race is set off for that firing of the shotgun the way it has been done the last few years. This race has started in Uniondale as the first group leaves. This is the group that contains the sort of professional riders, the guys that are pretty serious about this event, looking to do it in about 4 hours for most of the riders. The pros looking at coming in just over 3 hours. So it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. As we said before, it's a very tactical race. A lot of the big names are here. Matthew Beers, one of the favourites for today's race. He does enjoy his marathon riding, and he's going to be definitely one of the guys we want to keep an eye on throughout this race as it progresses. It's a long distance, 100 kilometres, that the riders now go through the small town of Uniondale, the outskirts of Uniondale, heading towards Ovaapad, and that's where the first climb is going to happen. A lot of the locals coming out to support the riders as they leave Uniondale. And there are quite a few groups departing. They'll be leading throughout the day. This is the road over the first bit of the mountain. Uniondale lying in the background. Ovaapad, it's known as. It gets very narrow higher up and a lot of loose rock as the leading riders now coming up Ovarpot. It's a little bit of a climb here as they make their way up the mountain. This road being graded by the farmers prior to the event, but they also had a lot of rain in the area, so a lot of the topsoil being washed away, leaving the rocks exposed. So you see Gert Heinz making an early move here. Of course, this is the climb up Ovarpot. It narrows quite a bit as we fly along the canyon. We spoke to some of the pros earlier. They say if you have any chance of winning this race, the only place you must not get dropped is up Ovarpot. Keep it together up there, and luckily they did. The group managed to catch these two riders that made the breakaway early on. They're all here. Matthew Beers, Adrian Lowe, Alan Gordon, Dylan Rebello, Gert Heinz, Eric Kleinans, and Galen van der Berg. It's the Contigo rider Adrian Lowe at the front. He's pushing away the rest of the field, just sitting in his slipstream. Like we said, it's a very, very tactical race, and a lot of the teams don't have full teams represented here. Back at the start line, the next group was about to get going. There are, of course, a multitude of groups starting on the day, up to 5 or 6 different groups leaving. Many of the riders looking forward to this long ride. For many of them, it was the first time out on the Karoo to coast. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle the rest of the conditions. If you haven't done this road before or this race before, it does take a toll on you. A lot of climbing to be done on the day, but I think if you're used to riding a mountain bike, it's a really enjoyable ride. And the crowd's coming out in support of the riders. That's what makes this event so amazing. All throughout the route, you've got the locals coming out to support these riders as they traverse their way back to Knysna, going over the Prince Albert Pass. Now keep in mind, this race of course is a seeding race for the very famous Argus Cycle Tour. So a lot of the riders wanting a good time here. This is not helping. A little bit of congestion coming up Ovarpot, some slow traffic, forcing some of the riders to dismount and take a small walk up there. But it wouldn't be long before the congestion clears. You can get back on the bike and enjoy the ride up this wonderful little dirt road, climbing all the way, 83 kilometers to go at this stage. And as they make their way up this climb, there are thousands of riders picking up the action with the lead group here. Matthew Beers at the front of the pack. Just behind him, it's Adrian Lowe, Alan Gordon in there as well as Gert Heinz and Dylan Rebello. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this race pans out throughout the day. As soon as we start hitting some of the bigger climbs coming up, and there are quite a few of them, and some very technical descents as well. Long descents. There's one descent that's just on 10 kilometers to the bottom of the valley. This is the bit where the riders come off the dirt road, then cross underneath the R62 that goes to Uniondale. That's leading lady Robin de Groot coming by. She managed to slip away from Jolandi de Tooy up Ovarpot. She's defending champion in this race. Of course, de Tooy just coming off the Pennypinchers Dr. Evil Classic, the 3-day mountain bike stage race that precedes this event. Many of the riders then stay over and can do the Pennypinchers Lions Karoo to coast as well. So I think Jolandi de Tooy feeling it in the legs today. There she is in the background, the familiar blue jersey now coming through. For the rest of the riders now getting up to the top of Ovarpot. There's a water point there. After the long Ovarpot climb, there's a long drop to the bottom of the valley to look forward to of just on 2 kilometers. The riders really having the times of their lives.
Heerlijk. Gestap en getrap. Ek en my buddy.
Well, I'm sure we'll catch up with the ladies just after the halfway mark. We'll see how it goes from that point on. After the long climb of Ovarpot, it's a long drop down into the valley. The rocky roads of the Karoo leading the riders closer to the lush valleys of Knysna. There were quite a few punctures on the day, and yes, it does impact on your finishing time, but at least you get a chance to jump off the bike and perhaps taking the breathtaking scenery that the Karoo has to offer. Really amazing stuff, and these long open roads giving the riders a chance to take in the scenery. At the front of the pack though, we join the leading ladies. Team Garmin rider Jolandi de Tooy trying to catch up with Robin de Groot at this stage. De Groot having just on a minute and 10-second lead. But the chase is going to be on, because I don't think de Tooy is just going to give up that easily. Of course, every year this ride draws just on 4,000 riders. Limited entry to this event, and if you want to find out more about this event, you can pop online and have a look at it. It's www.karootocoast.com. All the race information you need is right there on hand. You've got some race photos you can look at from the event as well. You can also have a look at the route. There's a complete route profile and route map that you can see if you want to enter next year. I would suggest you get the entries in quite early. as only 4,000 riders allowed in this event. I don't think it's going to expand in the future. The riders now making their way into the start of the Prince Albert Pass. This race just digs away at your spirit. As soon as you make it over one hill, another one awaits. Of course, there's always a water point at the end for you to freshen up and recover.
So ver gaan dit nie goed nie. My tone is dood. My rug is seer. En almal ry van my ook weg. So ons hoop ons maak dit klaar.
It's been tough, but I've had my brother to push me up the hills, so I'm stoked. Twice, yeah, all the way from Joburg.
Yeah, the hand that moved the world.
Yeah.
So far, great route, man. Really enjoying it. Glad the wind's behind us. Yeah, looking to finish the next kind of 3 hours, eh? We hope. Yeah.
It's nice. I think we've done 2 big uphills, a big downhill to go. First time I'm doing this, so I've just looked at the profile. We'll see what happens, eh?
So from here on, the riders make their way down into the Prince Alfred Pass. It's a route with a lot of historical value. It was constructed by Sir Thomas Bain. It was completed way back in 1867 at a cost of a mere £11,000 in the day. Of course, it was used in those days by many of the locals. It was the main road that connected Knysna and the surrounding areas and all the farms to the Karoo and the main roads that led to Johannesburg. This is the lead group as we make our way to the bottom end of the pass near Angie's G-Spot, as it's known. There's a low-level water crossing where the riders come over. The lead bunch here being led by the Contigo rider at the front. So the original 9 riders that made it up over, but still together. And it's going to be interesting to see where this race actually splits up. Quite a few climbs still on the way, the valley beckoning below. Of course, quite a few names to watch in this pack. Gert Heinz in there, Eric Kleinans, Dylan Rebello, Alan Gordon, Adrian Lowe, Matthew Beers. They're all in this group. Beers at the front of the pack here. After this long climb, they get to the top. It's going to be the contest for the King of the Mountain. I wonder if Matthew Beers is going to take this one. He's just putting his head down. Gert Heinz coming out from the back of the pack there. Heinz just managing to take it away from Matthew Beers. A little bit further back with the ladies, it was Jolandi de Toy trying to chase down Robin de Groot. De Groot managed to come through the King of the Mountains first. She will take maximum points there and extends her lead over the Toy at this stage. As they approach the bottom end of the valley towards Angie's G-Spot, a lot of waterfalls, and this is where it becomes really, really tranquil as you go through these huge cliff overhangs on the way to the bottom of the valley. It's a long and winding road over a few bridges. Keep in mind, this road built way back in the 1800s. And many of the locals coming out to support the riders. This is the area that was closed last year to the bridges being built, just newly constructed. And this is the famous Angie's G-Spot, right at the bottom of the valley where the road splits Knysna to the one-way Avontuur to the other. It's a beautiful crossing. And the water was flowing this year. Last year, this area was dry, so the riders really enjoying a beautiful cool-down ride to the lower end of this river. And from here on, the climbs start again as you climb your way to the other side of the valley. It's a beautiful view as you look over your shoulder to the left, but many of the riders won't be worried about that. They do get a glimpse of it as Trout Farm lies below them, now something of a distant memory. At this stage, many of the tail enders having a long walk to the top of this hill, and it's a long way to the top, just on 2.5 kilometers. It feels like it just never ends.
Man, these old knees of mine, yuck, and it's only halfway there. Yesterday. Oh, jovial, would you like a bit of G6, eh? It's like happy days to be up here. So, you have a lovely day too, my bro. Peace and happiness.
At this point, just on 40 kilometers covered, so 60 kilometers remaining in this ride. And there are still a few pretty big climbs that are heading the riders' way as they make their way into the rest of the ride. Some beautiful scenery and some very rocky roads ahead. The lead rider is now coming through an area known as the Kerboom's River Game Trials. So the leading group of 9 riders now being thinned down to 6 riders. It's Eric Kleinans, Gert Heinz, Dylan Rebello, Alan Gordon, Adrian Lowe and Matthew Beers all together. And it looks like the pace being made there by Matthew Beers at the front. He's always at the front of the pack. Saw this man riding last year in the Tour of Neisner. And I'll tell you what, he was in every single move that was made on the day. He responds to absolutely everything being thrown at him. Third place lady, Nadia Visser, at this stage, she's just 5 minutes away from Yolandi du Toit. She's having an absolutely amazing ride today. Evidence of the heavy rains this area received 3 days prior to this event all over. A lot of the area is dried up, but some of the road has been washed away along the route. You go check out the website if you want to find out more about the event, www.karoo2coast.com. At the top of the climb, we found our tandem duo we met in Uniondale.
I'm in my hell. Like a tired. Yeah. Not a good idea to do this first time if you're a fit guy. But yeah, we're still holding on. So yeah. We're hoping to hit the massage ladies now. Yeah.
Well, you heard them talking about the massage ladies. That's still about 15 kilos to go before they get there. It's at the Buffels Neck water point. So it's a long way to go, guys. But yeah, we'll see you there. As we get closer to Neisner, it's an area, of course, known as the timber heartland of South Africa. For some of the riders, a chance to take the breather and just work their way through the cramps.
Just need to ride it out. Oh, this hill can stop, eh? This hill can stop.
Many of the riders suffering from cramps on the day. It was a very common sight along the route. Making our way to the next water point. These water points are spaced just on 15 kilometers apart throughout the route. But the riders really enjoying them, taking some time out to repair heart and body, mind and soul.
It's tough. Very tough. They say it's downhill now. Let's see. Het gaan goed. Sover nie probleme nie. Net die laaste bultjie met die bietjie van die krampe. Verder fantastische reis.
Salted potato. Delicious.
Potato.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Of course, this route just on 100 kilometers long from Uniondale to Neisner. And as you make your way along the route, it's amazing to see how the terrain changes. From the rocky outlines of Uniondale and the Prince Alfred Pass as we make our way to the green, lush area of Neisner Forest and the area that surrounds Neisner. The locals always coming out in support and absolutely loving this race. The route once again makes its way into altitude. The riders now climbing into an area known as Buffels Neck, and this is the water point that many of them were looking forward to. It's a water point that offers all of the usuals, lubrication for the bike, lubrication for the body, a bit of something to eat, but it has something that the other water points don't have, and it's what we call lubrication for the legs. Because this was the water point where the masseurs were waiting and many of the riders needing that attention.
If I can have this cramp sorted out now, I'll be down there. I should be in Neisner by 3:30. I'm telling you. But so far, it's my second time doing this. I did it last day. I couldn't finish it because of cramps before the cut-off time. I'm never gonna allow this to cut. I'm going for that medal.
After some quick medical attention, it was time to get back on the bike and tackle the last 30 odd kilometers that remained in this ride. Entering an area known as Diep Valley here. And this is where the estuary of Neisner really comes into its own. A beautiful ride through the forest and riders getting a chance to enjoy the best of what this area has to offer. And this is just before they get into Komsepat. The water point at Komsepat offering some well-deserved donuts and potatoes. It was an absolute gastronomic delight. Some of the riders even taking time out to tell the wife what time they'd be home.
5 to 4.
Very hot and tough.
From here on, the riders dart into an area known as Komsepat. It's a route that is traversed by the riders in the Pennypinchers Dr. Evil Classic as well. So for many of the riders, the route look very, very familiar at this stage. In the meantime, at the front of the pack, 6 riders still together in this bunch. It was Galen van der Berg that was being dropped from this group. Matthew Beers powering away at the front. Dylan Rebello just behind him. As the riders make their way through the Gona Forest, if you were considering taking part in the 2016 event, keep in mind entrance limited to 4,000 riders for the Pennypinchers Lions Karoo to Coast. So get your entry in early for the 2016 event. The riders climb out of the Gona Forest and get to the third last water point of the day. A quick rub down for the legs at this stage, always very, very welcome. Perhaps even a chance to grab a selfie and fill up the water bottle. And at this stage, one would think you would know how many kilometers remain to the finish.
I don't know. It's like, I actually don't know how far there is left. But I believe there's another hill.
I hope I make it. I have to now, really. It's just too close, too near.
It is now time to bite the bullet and tackle the last few kilometers that remain to the end, which, by the way, is 18. The Pennypinchers Lions Karoo to Coast is organised and managed by the Lions Club of Knysna and Uniondale. It's an event that draws the biggest field of mountain bike riders in the country to one single event. Many of the riders don't know that their race entry and support during the event is used for a good cause. But where does all of the proceeds go that is raised during the event? We spoke to Bridget Turner from Lions Club Knysna to find out more.
We have 2 charities which are very dear to Lions' hearts. One is Bright Sight and the other one is Sight First. And we've done over 3,000 cataract ops. We do squint ops, we do detached retinas, and cornea transplants and all sorts of things like that. We run an eye clinic in town for the people who are very poor. We're very happy with what we make and this wonderful, wonderful support and response we get from the public.
And then, of course, they also man 2 water points on the day.
This is heaven on a platter. You couldn't ask for more when you're this close to the finish.
On behalf of the Lions Club of Knysna and Uniondale, we'd like to thank all of the riders for their support during the Pennypinchers Lions Karoo to Coast. Thank you for coming out and supporting the event, guys. And thank you for empowering Lions Club to do the good work they do in the area. A long drop down. They know once they get to the bottom of this hill, they cross the Gona pump station, a low water bridge they go over, and from there on it's one climb left to the top of Samola Hill. And then they're almost home, 10 kilometers to get to the finish line. From here, a little bit more than that, about 13 kilometers to the finish. That's the pump station they go over. It's a low water bridge. Luckily, it wasn't flowing over this here, so it was a dry crossing for the riders. At the front of the pack, these are the leaders. They're going to be going underneath the causeway, then getting onto the main road, heading into Knysna. 2 kilometers to go. Being led here, it looks like Matthew Beers getting out there first. Adrian Lowe at the front, but here comes Beers. Alan Gordon's just behind him, and Beers accelerates, and it looks like Adrian Lowe is going to be the only one that's going to have the legs to try and catch him. Adrian Lowe trying to close the gap down, but it's going to be Beers taking a win in the 2015 Pennypinchers Lions Karoo to Coast.
Yeah, I love this route. There's some steep climbs, like the second big climb is decent, and yeah, it's just a cool combination of stuff. It's nice to just have a tactical race on a mountain bike. It's awesome, I love it. It's a really different race to what we used to.
A little bit further back in the pack, leading lady coming here. This is Robin de Groot. She broke away on the Vaarpad climb and managed to pull a gap on Yolandi de Toy. So Robin de Groot defending her title. She won this last year. She's back to defend it this year. Great finish by de Groot, taking the honours in the ladies event.
I always enjoy it. It's really good. It's not technical mountain biking. It's open roads, kind of district road. And just something different, you know. You start in Uniondale and finish in Knysna. I think it's a really cool concept.
So with the leaders in the main field still out there, and there were thousands of riders out on the course getting to the finish line. This was the last climb. It's a beautiful climb from the pump station right to the top of Samola Hill. It was the last climb of the day. Well, at least when you got to the top of the climb, it was another water point. The last one for the day, manned by the Rotary Club, with some very welcome banana bread.
Oh, look at that. Yum.
Done it. We're at the top of the last hill. It's been an exercise in pain management, but it's done. So, let's go home.
From this point on, it's a beautiful downhill down Samola Hill. And then all they've got to do is get underneath the causeway or get across the causeway at the bottom of the hill. Make a right turn and then head into Knysna. From this point on, it's a beautiful ride along the lagoon to get to the finish line. Pennypinchers have thrown their weight behind the Lions Karoo to coast. The event has grown to be the biggest one-day mountain bike race in the country. Without a sponsor, this event can never succeed.
Yeah, I was actually very surprised to hear that it is one of the biggest races on the calendar and also the biggest single-day mountain bike race in South Africa. It's the most important event on our calendar at the moment. It's preceded by the Dr. Evil Classic, which is our 3-day stage race, which takes place in Witwatersrand down the road here. So having stores within the area in George and Eisner, Plet, Oudtshoorn, PE, Mansdorp as well. This is really our stronghold of where the brand is, and yeah, we want to keep it that way.
It was a great finish by Matthew Beers, taking the honours this year, beating Adrian Lowe and Alan Gordon to the finish line. And also a great finish by Robin de Groot. Let's have a look at those overall results then. As you see them on the screen there, Matthew Beers taking the overall victory. Ready Canada ride at 3 hours 12 minutes. That is such a fast ride by the young man. That concludes all of the coverage from this year's Pennypinchers Lions Karoo to Coast. We trust you've enjoyed the coverage and hope to see you at the event in 2016. All of the action from the Pennypinchers Lions Karoo to Coast is proudly brought to you by Pennypinchers and the Lions Club.